There comes a moment in every life when the weight of the world feels unbearable. A moment when the shadows of fear, doubt, and regret seem to close in, whispering that you are not strong enough, not worthy enough, not capable of overcoming. Maybe you have faced that moment already. Maybe you are standing in it right now, feeling trapped by your past, haunted by your failures, or burdened by battles no one else sees. But hear this truth: you are not created to live in defeat. You are not meant to be held captive by fear, shame, or despair. Every person carries struggles, demons that seek to break them. Some fight battles of the mind, plagued by thoughts that tell them they are not enough. Others battle the wounds of the past, reliving mistakes and failures as if they are permanent marks upon their soul. But there is a way forward. There is a path to strength, to freedom, to resilience. You do not have to remain bound by the weight of your struggles. You have the power to rise, to conquer, to step into a life filled with purpose, hope, and unshakable strength. Today is the day to begin that journey. Everyone faces battles that no one else sees. These battles are not fought with swords or shields, but in the quiet moments of our lives when doubts creep in, when fear whispers in the darkness, when regrets from the past try to claim our future. These battles take many forms. Some struggle with addiction, others with anger, loneliness, depression, or the weight of their mistakes. Some are haunted by things they cannot change, while others are trapped by choices they wish they never made. No one is immune to these struggles. No one is beyond the reach of these inner demons. The first step to conquering them is acknowledging they exist. Too often people deny their struggles, hoping they will simply disappear. They put on a strong face, pretend everything is fine, and push their pain deeper inside. But ignoring a wound does not heal it. It only allows it to fester. A person cannot defeat an enemy they refuse to recognize. Just as a soldier cannot fight a battle he refuses to acknowledge, a person cannot overcome what they will not face. Denial is one of the greatest weapons that these demons use. They thrive in secrecy and avoidance, in the false belief that ignoring the problem will make it go away. But what is left in the dark only grows stronger. The longer someone refuses to face their struggles, the tighter the chains become. Acknowledging the battle is not a sign of weakness. It is the first sign of strength. There is great courage in admitting that something is wrong, in recognizing that something is holding you back. Many people believe that admitting their struggles means they have failed. They think that needing help means they are weak, but the truth is quite the opposite. The strongest people are not those who pretend they have no struggles, but those who are willing to confront them head on. Strength is found in honesty. It takes courage to say, I am struggling. I need help. I cannot do this alone. Some people believe their battles are too small to matter, that others have it worse, so they should simply endure in silence. They convince themselves that their pain is not significant enough, that they should be able to handle it, but the size of the battle does not determine its importance. A struggle is a struggle, and pain is pain. No one should diminish their struggles just because someone else's may seem greater. Every wound deserves healing, and every battle deserves to be fought with full effort. Others feel shame over their struggles, believing that no one else fights the same demons. They isolate themselves, afraid that if people knew what they were going through, they would be judged or rejected. But isolation is exactly what these demons want. When someone feels alone, they feel weaker. When they believe no one else understands, they lose hope. But the truth is, no one is alone in their struggles. Everyone has battles they fight. Everyone has moments of doubt, fear, and regret. No one is perfect. No one has it all together. The more people share their struggles, the more they realize they are not alone, that others have walked the same path, and that victory is possible. There is a powerful freedom that comes from acknowledging the battle. The moment someone says, this is my struggle, this is what I am facing, they take the first step toward overcoming it. They begin to take control rather than letting the struggle control them. They stop running, stop hiding, and start fighting. This does not mean the battle will be easy, but it does mean it can be won. There is strength in honesty, power in recognizing the truth. When someone acknowledges their demons, they begin to strip them of their power. This is where healing begins. When a person faces their struggles, instead of avoiding them, they open the door to change. They can seek help. find support, and take steps toward freedom. They can replace fear with faith, replace doubt with truth, and replace shame with grace. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the most important. Acknowledging the battle does not mean losing, it means preparing for victory. No one can conquer what they refuse to confront. No one can be free while still pretending the chains do not exist. The path to victory begins the moment a person chooses to face their struggle and fight back. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles a person can face. It has the power to paralyze, to hold someone back from becoming who they were meant to be. Fear whispers that failure is inevitable, that the past cannot be escaped, that the future is uncertain. It convinces people that they are not strong enough, not worthy enough, not capable enough. Fear builds walls around the mind, keeping dreams just out of reach and possibilities locked away. It is a force that feeds on doubt and grows in the shadows of uncertainty. Faith, however, is the exact opposite of fear. While fear imprisons, faith sets free. While fear fills the mind with doubt, faith fills it with hope. Fear says, you can't. Faith says, with God all things are possible. Fear makes a person hesitate, question, and retreat. Faith pushes them forward, even when the path is unclear. Faith is the belief that no matter how impossible something seems, there is a way forward. It is trusting that even in the darkest moments, light will shine through. Many people allow fear to dictate their lives without even realizing it. They stay in situations that drain them because they are afraid of change. They avoid pursuing their dreams because they are afraid of failure. They hold back from relationships because they are afraid of rejection. Fear keeps them stuck in the same patterns, replaying the same doubts, making the same excuses. It whispers that stepping out of the comfort zone is too risky, that the unknown is too dangerous. But what people fail to realize is that the greatest risks often lead to the greatest rewards. Staying in fear may feel safe, but it also means living a life of limitations. Faith, on the other hand, requires stepping into the unknown. It requires believing in something beyond what can be seen. It is not blind optimism or ignoring reality. Instead, faith is trusting that no matter how uncertain things may seem, there is a greater plan at work. It is choosing to move forward despite the fear, not because all the answers are clear, but because there is confidence that the answers will come. Faith does not remove fear entirely, but it gives the strength to push through it. It replaces doubt with the assurance that even if the path is difficult, it is worth walking. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that faith and fear cannot exist together. The truth is, they often do. Even the strongest individuals experience fear. Even the most faithful people have doubts. The difference is what they choose to listen to. Do they let fear control their decisions, or do they step forward in faith despite it? The presence of fear does not mean the absence of faith. In fact, the greatest acts of faith often happen in the midst of fear. Courage is not the lack of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. Fear thrives in uncertainty, and life is filled with uncertainty. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. No one can control every outcome. But faith is the choice to trust in something greater than the unknown. It is the belief that even when things seem impossible, they are not. It is the confidence that even when struggles come, they will not last forever. Faith allows a person to walk forward not because they have all the answers, but because they trust that the answers will be provided at the right time. Another way fear gains power is through focusing on past failures. Many people do not move forward because they are convinced that their past defines them. They believe they are too broken, too flawed, too far gone. Fear tells them that because they failed before, they will fail again. But faith says that the past does not dictate the future. Faith says that no mistake is greater than grace. No failure is final. Every new day is a new chance to rise, to grow, to become stronger. Faith looks beyond what has been and sees what can be. Fear also tells people they are alone, that no one understands what they are going through. It isolates, making the struggle feel personal and unshareable. But faith reminds people that they are never alone. It reassures them that there is always strength available, always a hand to lift them up, always a way through the storm. Faith does not eliminate hardship, but it provides the endurance to withstand it. It replaces the lies of fear with the truth of hope, reminding people that they are not defined by their struggles, but by their resilience. The battle between fear and faith is ongoing. Every day presents a choice to give in to fear or to stand in faith. Fear will always try to creep in, to shake confidence, to hold people back. But faith is the shield that blocks its attacks. Faith is the voice that overpowers the whispers of doubt. Faith is the foundation that remains firm even when everything else seems uncertain. Choosing faith over fear is not a one-time decision, but a daily commitment. It is waking up every morning and deciding to believe that no matter what comes, there is a purpose, there is a way, and there is a strength that will never fail. Strength is often misunderstood. Many believe it comes from sheer willpower, from pushing through struggles alone, from never showing weakness. But true strength is not about fighting battles alone. It is about knowing when to surrender. Surrender is not defeat. It is not giving up or admitting failure. Surrender is recognizing that human strength has limits, but divine strength does not. It is laying down burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. It is understanding that no one was created to fight every battle on their own. People often resist surrender because they believe they must be in control at all times. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, if they just push through a little longer, they will make it on their own. They hold on to their struggles with clenched fists, unwilling to let go. But the more they hold on, the heavier the burden becomes. Worry, stress, and exhaustion build up, and eventually the weight becomes too much. Trying to control everything does not bring peace. It brings anxiety. It creates an illusion of strength, but in reality, it drains the soul. Surrender is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of wisdom. It is knowing that there is a greater strength available, a power that goes beyond human limits. It is choosing to let go of the things that cannot be controlled and placing them in the hands of God. Many people fight battles they were never meant to fight. They carry the weight of past mistakes, of regrets, of pain that should have been released long ago. They hold on to anger, resentment, and unforgiveness, believing that carrying these burdens somehow makes them stronger. But true strength is found in the ability to release, to trust, to believe that there is a plan greater than human understanding. There is a peace that comes with surrender, a relief that cannot be found in human effort alone. When someone lays down their burdens, they make room for renewal. They allow their hearts to heal, their minds to rest, and their spirits to be strengthened. Holding on to control does not create resilience. Surrender does. It is the act of stepping back and allowing divine strength to take over. It is choosing trust over fear, peace over anxiety, faith over doubt. Many people struggle with surrender because they believe they must have all the answers before they can let go. They want to know exactly how things will work out, exactly when their pain will end, exactly how they will overcome their struggles. But surrender does not require knowing every detail. It requires trust. It is understanding that some answers will not come immediately, but that does not mean they will not come. It is accepting that some battles are beyond human control, but that does not mean they cannot be won. Letting go does not mean ignoring problems or pretending they do not exist. It does not mean sitting back and waiting for everything to change without effort. Surrender is an active choice. It is deciding to stop carrying unnecessary weight and instead move forward with faith. It is recognizing that strength is not about control, but about trust. It is about understanding that there is a source of power greater than anything a person can produce on their own. People often feel the need to be strong for others. They believe they must always have it together, always be the one who holds everything up. They fear that if they surrender, if they admit they need help, they will let others down. But the truth is, no one can pour from an empty cup. No one can give strength to others while they themselves are running on empty. Surrender allows for renewal. It restores what has been drained. It fills what has been emptied. It is not abandoning responsibility, but embracing the help that was always meant to be available. The weight of life is too heavy to carry alone. The burdens of the past, the worries of the future, the struggles of the present, none of these were meant to rest on one person's shoulder. Yet so many live each day carrying loads they were never meant to bear. They wake up exhausted, they go to bed anxious, and they wonder why peace seems so far away. But peace is not found in control. Peace is found in surrender. Surrender is a daily choice. It is not something done once and forgotten. It is waking up every morning and choosing to release worry, choosing to trust instead of fear, choosing to let go instead of holding on. It is a process, a journey, a decision made over and over again. But with each act of surrender, strength is renewed. With each release of control, resilience grows. With each moment of trust, peace takes root. True strength is not in fighting alone, but in knowing when to let go. The mind is a battlefield, a place where victories and defeats are determined long before actions are taken. What a person thinks about, what they dwell on, what they allow to take root in their thoughts, these things shape their reality. Many people believe their struggles are external, caused by circumstances, other people, or events beyond their control. But more often than not, the greatest battles are fought within. The thoughts a person entertains can either strengthen them or weaken them, can either lift them up or tear them down. This is why renewing the mind is essential. It is not just a suggestion, it is a necessity for anyone who wants to overcome their inner demons and live a life of strength and resilience. The mind is constantly being fed information. Every conversation, every experience, every piece of news, every memory, it all contributes to shaping a person's thoughts. The problem arises when negative thoughts, false beliefs, and past failures take up residence in the mind and begin to dictate how a person sees themselves and their future. When someone continually dwells on fear, doubt, shame, or regret, these things begin to feel permanent, as though they define who they are. But just because a thought enters the mind does not mean it has to stay there. Just because fear whispers that failure is inevitable does not mean it is true. Just because doubt creeps in does not mean it must be accepted. The key to renewal is learning to take control of what is allowed to stay. Many people live as prisoners of their own thoughts, trapped in cycles of negativity without realizing they have the power to break free. They replay past mistakes, telling themselves they will never change. They dwell on worst-case scenarios, convincing themselves that disaster is inevitable. They focus on their weaknesses instead of their strengths, allowing insecurity to take hold. But this is not how the mind was meant to function. The mind was designed to be renewed, to be transformed, to be filled with truth instead of lies. Change begins when a person decides to stop accepting every thought as truth and starts questioning whether it aligns with what is right, what is good, and what leads to growth. Renewing the mind is not something that happens passively. It requires effort, intentionality, and consistency. It is a process of replacing old patterns of thinking with new ones, of letting go of thoughts that bring harm and replacing them with thoughts that bring life. This is why daily practices such as prayer, meditation, and reading scripture are so powerful. They are not just routines, they are tools for reshaping the mind. They remind the heart of what is true, strengthen the spirit against doubt, and fill the mind with wisdom instead of fear. Without these practices, the mind is left vulnerable, open to every passing thought, every fleeting emotion, every negative voice that tries to take hold. One of the greatest obstacles to renewing the mind is the tendency to hold on to the past. Many people allow past failures, past wounds, past regrets to define their present and shape their future. They replay moments of shame, relive decisions they wish they could change, and carry guilt that was never meant to be carried. But renewal means releasing what was and embracing what can be. It means recognizing that the past does not have the power to dictate the future unless it is given that power. It means choosing to move forward rather than staying stuck in old patterns of thinking. Another challenge to renewing the mind is the influence of negative voices, whether from other people, the world, or even one's own self-talk. Society constantly bombards people with messages about what they should be, what they should fear, what they should prioritize. Many of these messages are rooted in insecurity, comparison, and material success rather than truth, purpose, and faith. If a person is not careful, they will find themselves shaped by voices that do not have their best interest at heart. This is why it is crucial to be mindful of what is allowed into the mind. The books read, the conversations entertained, the content consumed. These things all contribute to shaping thoughts. A renewed mind does not happen by accident. It happens by guarding what is allowed to take root. Renewing the mind also requires patience. Change does not happen overnight. Just as it takes time for a tree to grow from a seed, it takes time for new patterns of thinking to take hold. There will be moments of struggle, times when old doubts try to return, days when it feels easier to fall back into negativity. But persistence is key. Just as physical strength is built through consistent exercise, mental and spiritual strength is built through consistent renewal. The more a person practices shifting their focus from fear to faith, from doubt to confidence, from shame to grace, the stronger their mind becomes. Eventually, the negative thoughts that once held power lose their grip, replaced by thoughts that bring peace, clarity, and resilience. A renewed mind does not mean a life without struggle, but it does mean a life with greater strength to face those struggles. It means learning to see challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles, to view failures as lessons rather than defeats, to hold on to hope even when circumstances seem uncertain. It means thinking in a way that leads to growth rather than stagnation, strength rather than weakness, faith rather than fear. Pain is an unavoidable part of life. No one is exempt from heartache, loss, disappointment, or suffering. It comes in many forms. Some experience it through the betrayal of a loved one, others through the sting of failure, the weight of regret, or the loneliness of rejection. Some suffer in silence, hiding their wounds behind a smile, while others openly express their grief, struggling to understand why they must endure so much. Pain has a way of making people question everything. Why things happen the way they do, whether they will ever heal, whether they are strong enough to endure. But pain is not the end of the story. It is not something to simply survive. It is something that can be transformed into a source of strength, wisdom, and growth. Many people see pain as an enemy, something to be avoided at all costs. They spend their lives running from it, numbing it, distracting themselves from it, doing everything in their power to escape it. But no matter how much effort is spent trying to outrun pain, it always finds a way back. The truth is, pain does not disappear just because it is ignored. Suppressing it only gives it more control. Wounds that are never addressed do not heal, they fester. Unresolved pain turns into bitterness, anger, resentment, or despair. It can harden the heart, making a person distrustful, fearful, or unwilling to take risks. But when pain is acknowledged and processed, it can become one of the greatest teachers. It can shape character, deepen understanding, and open the heart to a kind of strength that only comes through struggle. Some of the most resilient people in history were not those who lived without suffering, but those who allowed their suffering to refine them rather than destroy them. They faced adversity, but instead of letting it break them, they used it to build endurance. They experienced failure, but instead of giving up, they learned from their mistakes. They encountered loss, but instead of becoming consumed by grief, they found ways to move forward with purpose. Pain, when approached with the right perspective, can produce perseverance. It can teach patience, humility, and compassion. It can remind people of what truly matters, stripping away the unnecessary and revealing what is most important. One of the greatest dangers of pain is the temptation to let it define a person's identity. Many people allow their wounds to become their story, believing they are nothing more than the sum of their past hurts. They carry labels given to them by their suffering: failure, victim, unworthy, broken. But pain is not meant to define, it is meant to refine. It is a chapter in the story, not the entire book. There is always a choice in how pain is handled. It can be allowed to consume, to make a person bitter and hopeless, or it can be used as fuel for growth and transformation. There is a kind of wisdom that only comes through suffering. It is one thing to know about pain intellectually, but it is another thing to experience it personally and come through it stronger. Those who have faced great trials often have a deeper understanding of life. They know what it is to endure, to struggle, to persevere. They develop empathy for others who are suffering because they have walked the same road. Their pain gives them the ability to comfort, to guide, to encourage. It becomes a source of connection rather than isolation. Growth through pain does not mean pretending to be unaffected by hardship. It does not mean denying emotions or acting as though suffering does not hurt. It means allowing pain to do its work, processing it, learning from it, and using it as a tool for personal and spiritual growth. It means asking the right questions, not why me, but what can I learn from this? Not will this ever end, but how can I grow through this? Perspective is everything. The same experience that makes one person bitter can make another person wise. The same hardship that causes one person to give up can inspire another to rise. The difference is in the mindset, in the willingness to see pain not as a punishment, but as an opportunity. Pain often feels like a setback, but it can actually be a setup for something greater. Many people discover their true purpose through their struggles. The things that once caused the most suffering can become the very things that lead to the most growth. The hardest seasons of life can produce the greatest transformations. Pain stretches, it challenges, it reshapes, it reveals strengths that were previously hidden. It forces people to rely on something greater than themselves, to seek help, to find meaning beyond the temporary struggle. Healing does not happen overnight. Growth through pain is a process, one that requires patience and perseverance. Some wounds take longer to heal than others. Some struggles seem to linger far longer than expected. But every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Each moment of endurance builds strength. Each act of resilience shapes character. The pain of today can become the strength of tomorrow. It is not easy, but it is possible. The choice is always there, either to let pain destroy or to let it refine. Resilience is not something a person is simply born with. It is something that is developed through trials, challenges, and hardships. It is the ability to keep moving forward when everything in life seems to be working against you. It is the strength to rise after failure, the courage to keep believing after disappointment, and the determination to press on when giving up seems like the easier option. Resilience is not about never feeling pain or never struggling with doubt. It is about learning how to stand firm in the midst of the storm, knowing that hardship does not have the power to define you unless you allow it. Many people believe that resilience means being strong enough to face everything alone, but that is not true. No one is meant to carry the burdens of life on their own. Trying to do so only leads to exhaustion, frustration, and eventually despair. True resilience comes not from self-reliance, but from a deep-rooted trust in something greater than oneself. It is the understanding that no matter how difficult the road becomes, there is a strength available that goes beyond human ability. This is the kind of resilience that cannot be broken by the trials of life, because it is not dependent on circumstances. It is dependent on faith, on truth, on a foundation that does not shake when the winds of adversity blow. One of the most important aspects of resilience is learning how to respond to failure. Everyone fails at some point in life. Plans fall apart, mistakes are made, and dreams sometimes do not unfold the way they were expected to. But failure is not the end of the story unless it is accepted as such. Resilient people do not allow failure to define them. They learn from it, grow from it, and use it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. They refuse to let the fear of failure stop them from trying again. They understand that every great success is built on lessons learned from past mistakes. Those who let failure discourage them remain stuck. But those who use it as fuel to keep going find themselves stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the future. Disappointment is another test of resilience. Life does not always unfold the way people expect it to. Relationships end, opportunities are lost, doors closed that seem like they should have been opened. In these moments it is easy to become discouraged, to feel as though all hope is lost. But resilience is the ability to keep believing even when things do not go according to plan. It is trusting that closed doors often lead to better paths, that every setback carries the potential for a greater comeback. It is the ability to hold on to hope, to refuse to let discouragement take root in the heart, and to keep pressing forward with faith that something greater lies ahead. Resilient people understand that hardship is temporary, no storm lasts forever, no trial is permanent. Even the darkest night eventually gives way to morning. This perspective is what allows them to endure. They do not allow present struggles to convince them that their future is hopeless. They remind themselves that they have overcome difficulties before and that they will overcome again. They recognize that perseverance is not just about surviving hardship, but about growing through it. Every challenge faced, every struggle endured builds endurance. It shapes character. It strengthens faith. It creates a foundation of trust that can withstand anything. Another key to resilience is learning to control what can be controlled and releasing what cannot. Many people waste their energy worrying about things that are beyond their control. They dwell on past mistakes that cannot be changed, stress over the opinions of others, and fear the future as if worrying could alter its course. But resilient people understand that there is power in letting go. They focus on what they can control, their actions, their attitudes, their responses to challenges, and they entrust the rest to something greater than themselves. They do not allow fear of the unknown to dictate their lives. Instead, they choose to walk forward with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, they will not be defeated. Resilience is also built through community. No one is meant to walk through hardship alone. Those who try to face struggles in isolation often find themselves overwhelmed, discouraged, and weary. But those who surround themselves with people who uplift them, encourage them, and remind them of truth find renewed strength. The right voices can make all the difference. Words of encouragement can restore hope. A helping hand can lighten a heavy burden. Resilient people know that strength is not found in isolation, but in connection. They lean on those who strengthen them, and in turn they become a source of strength for others. Ultimately, resilience is a choice. It is the decision to keep moving forward when everything inside wants to give up. It is the refusal to be defined by failure, disappointment, or hardship. It is the commitment to trust even when the path ahead is unclear. It is not built overnight, but through every struggle faced, every difficulty endured, and every moment of perseverance, it grows stronger. Life will always bring challenges, but those who choose resilience will always find a way to rise. You have faced battles, walked through storms, and carried burdens that at times felt too heavy to bear. You have known fear, doubt, and pain. You have wrestled with your own demons. Those voices that tried to convince you that you were not strong enough, not worthy enough, not capable of rising. But let me remind you of this unshakable truth. You were not meant to live in defeat. You were not meant to be held captive by your struggles. You were created for more. The road to conquering your demons is not an easy one. It requires you to renew your mind, to release the pain of the past, to find strength in the midst of suffering, and to press forward even when the weight of life tries to hold you back. But you are not alone in this fight. You have within you a resilience that cannot be broken, a spirit that refuses to be crushed, and a purpose that is greater than your pain. Do not let your past define you. Do not let fear control you. Do not let failure stop you. You are stronger than you know. You are capable of rising. You are meant to walk in victory. Step forward with courage. Stand firm in faith. And never forget, your greatest battles can become your greatest victories. The choice is yours. Rise and conquer.